Everybody ready? Meeting will come to order, please. Johanna, would you read the statement of compliance?
The notice requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act for this meeting have been satisfied. A copy of the annual meeting notice was sent to the press of Atlantic City, Star Ledger, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, the municipal website, and filed in the office of the municipal clerk. Please turn off cell phones. Welcome to the City of Margate's workshop capital meeting for June 17th, 2021. This meeting is being done in person in the commission chambers and via teleconference in compliance with the Division of Local Government Service Regulations. Before we begin, the procedure for this meeting is as follows. All visitors to the meeting connected via teleconference will be muted until public participation on items spoken today is open. Once public participation session begins, these visitors will be unmuted. Visitors in the chambers will have the opportunity to speak first, followed by the visitors connected via teleconference. When instructed, please announce your name and address and wait for the moderator to recognize you before you begin speaking. Each participation session will be 3 minutes in length, and you will be notified when your time has expired. When public participation session completes, all teleconference visitors will be muted again.
Thank you, Johanna. Let's all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Mayor Becker.
Here.
Commissioner Amadeo.
Here.
Commissioner Blumberg.
I am here.
On items for discussion, we have with us today from JIF, Mr. Paul Manola and Dave Miller. Gentlemen, the floor is yours. You have 2.5 minutes.
Good afternoon. Paul promised me he would be short today because you've been in the JIP quite a bit. Thank you for having us. He's just going to do a quick recap because it's you're due for your 3rd year renewal. The last few years been better than the previous couple of years, so we're on the right track.
I tell my wife that every day.
And she doesn't believe it.
No.
Obviously, the hot topic now, as you can read in the newspapers, is the cyber liability. I talked to Fred about that a little bit, so there'll be some tweaks in that this year, and I think we can accommodate the JIP with the new requirements. So, with that, Paul?
Is it okay if I hand these out?
Sure.
Rich, just pass them.
Mayor, Committee, and Rich, here's one for you.
Give Maury first.
Well, thank you for having me here and putting me on your agenda for this afternoon. I'm Paul Miola, and the Deputy Executive Director of the Atlantic County Municipal Joint Insurance Fund. And yes, as Dave said, your renewal is up this year. And you know, we'd just like to give you an overview, let you know what we're doing, what the JIF is up to, and how well we're performing, and how Margate is performing. So if you just flip open to page 2, and I'm going to need my specs, geez. You know, just basically, I think what's most important about the JIF is it's really driven by the members themselves. We're not an insurance company. Your fund commissioner, Lisa McLaughlin, represents the city at our meetings and sees to it that your interests are being represented to the Joint Insurance Fund. We try to put out the most superior coverage that's available for municipal government. We offer a variety of valuable programs to help you manage your risk. And most importantly is the financial stability and strength, which is what you really want when there's somebody there backing up your insurance claims over time. If you look at page 3, because our members have been so committed to the safety and risk management programs, we've really been able to control our budget in the Joint Insurance Fund, especially that part of the budget that goes to pay claims. We call that our loss funding portion of the budget, and you can see it's been under 1% for each of the past 4 years since your last renewal. So our members have done a good job. Margate's done a great job these past 2 or 3 years in pulling your loss ratio down. As you'll see on page 4, we had a couple of rough years. Dave's very tuned into the claims that have occurred. We've had some workers' comp claims for pretty severe injuries. We've had one auto situation that kind of spiked the loss ratio. So loss ratio you should think of as a golf score, not a bowling score. So the 6-year average on the far right, that's $1.31 taken out for every dollar that's put into loss funds over the past few years. And you can see on page 5, it has had some impact on your assessment. You've had some low single-digit rate increases since your last renewal in the JIF. One of the nice things about the JIF now is we do have a retrospective program where you'll have a chance to get some of that money back as your performance improves. And Dave assures me that over the past 3 years you have had improved performance that's really turning this around. The other nice thing about the joint insurance fund on page 6 is the fact that every penny that we don't spend on claims is returned to the members. It's not a profit-making organization like an insurance company. So you'll see, astoundingly, we've returned $44 million to the members of the Atlantic Municipal JIF since inception. This past year, we released $3.7 million. We're looking at releasing the same amount this year. And if you look at Margate, you folks have received over almost $600,000 in dividends. Last year, $126,000 that you often use to offset your premiums for the coming year. Page 7, I like to brag about our bottom line. Very important that we have the cash in the bank, $46 million to pay your claims. We've got money set aside as reserves for claims that we might be paying out in the years to come. But even after all that, we're sitting on about a $20 million surplus. And you'll see why that's so important, because on page 8, there's new challenges that are always popping up, things that we didn't anticipate happening. Obviously, the COVID-19, the remote work that's happened over the past year, some of the statutory changes, the pension offset I'll talk about in a second, recreational marijuana and that impact, sexual abuse and molestation. As Dave Miller said, the growing cyber threats, we're seeing that increase. Social inflation, the police verdicts around the country having an impact on our own juries here in South Jersey, and most importantly, we're seeing a hardening of the insurance market, which means that insurance companies are acting like they did when we formed the JIF back in 1987. They don't want to insure certain operations, they're jacking the rates up, they're making insurance availability very slim, especially in some areas like cyber. Very difficult for municipalities to get that type of coverage. But because we band together with other JIFs around the state, we're in a pretty strong position to negotiate with the insurance company. And then on page 9, we just talk about how resilient we've been over the past 15 months, providing the workers' comp for your municipal employees, mitigating the risks of COVID. We put out safety bulletins, updates from our solicitor, Dave DeWeese, posters that you can put up to alert your employees about situations and other directives that we have sent out to help you deal with COVID. Just a little note here on page 9. As of April 30th, we've received 790 COVID claims. The incurred value of those claims is about $1.3 million. Fortunately, the vast majority of those claims is just report of exposure to COVID, but we have had situations where the employees actually did come down with COVID, and because they amended the Workers' Compensation Act last year to say that if an employee has contracted COVID, it's incumbent on us to prove that it wasn't done on the job, which is very, very difficult to do in many of these cases. So we are able to handle those claims again because of our financial resources. And then our resiliency on page 10, we moved all our meetings to virtual format. All of our meeting materials, our Fund Commissioner handbook all got digitized. Last summer we went out, we really weren't able to come out and visit with member towns, so we did virtual visits. We had a Fund Commissioner orientation this spring we did virtually, and then all of our training went online. The managers and supervisors, the elected officials, the safety training. We continued to provide the training, but we adapted and started to do that in a more virtual environment, which really helped out, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that. We've learned a lot during the pandemic. Page 13, we talk about recreational marijuana. It's here. And how do we deal with it? How are you going to deal with your employees? How are you going to deal with any potential land use claims? And police liability claims. I know our chiefs are very concerned how do we enforce this law right now when they've handcuffed us, basically? So through the statewide organization of the MEL, we've hired special counsel to start to look into some of these issues so that we can provide guidance. We're hoping the Attorney General's office provides guidance to our police so that they have a better understanding of what their limitations are, or what responsibilities they can carry out as this law was enacted. And then some of the impact of other statutory changes on page 12. Obviously, the sexual abuse and molestation a year and a half ago, we extended the statute of limitations here in New Jersey. That's made it very difficult. We have members that have had allegations of sexual abuse that predate their membership in the joint insurance fund. And we try to help the members identify who the insurance companies were back then. I know Dave Miller's done a great job there in helping you folks. We know that these claims are difficult to defend. And what we try to do is to put out some training programs. Protection and Safe Treatment of Minors is a program that we hope you will take to heart. Make sure that your recreation people and that your staff takes the online training to understand more about this issue. And then firefighters' cancer presumption. They extended the Workers' Comp Act, it'll be 2 years ago this summer, that to state that firefighters who contract cancer, it is presumed to have been because of their exposure to the chemicals that are involved in firefighting, whether it's from the fire itself or the materials that they use. They need to have, be under 75 years of age with a minimum of 7 years of service, but we're starting to see some of those claims reported to us as well. Again, something we never anticipated, which is why we've always been fiscally conservative. We've got the money to back us up to make sure we're there to pay your claims. Page 13 just talks about the pension directive. Basically, we were able to settle workers' compensation claims for permanency with medical monitoring, which allowed the employee to go into the state pension system when they took a disability retirement. Right now, they've reversed that. This is something that's going to start costing us more money in the joint insurance fund. In page 14, I mentioned at the outset the hardening insurance market. If you look at that little picture on Time magazine cover, that goes back to 1986 when we started the JIF, and it's coming around again. Insurance companies are jacking up rates, they're increasing deductibles and co-pays because we've had the natural disasters, cyber becoming very difficult with high deductibles and co-pays, and the liability issues have become much more difficult. Used to be you couldn't sue City Hall. Yeah, those days are long, long, long gone. So again, because we are joining together with over 500 municipalities statewide through an interlocal organization called the MEL, we are able to address these. We are able to be in a better negotiating position with the insurers. And I know we're looking into a tough renewal for 2022, but we're already hard at work on that. I also want to talk about social inflation. It's just the attitude of juries today that somebody's got to be paid, somebody's got to be at fault. We're seeing a broader definition of liability. Somebody trips over their own 2 feet, it's got to be somebody's fault. Somebody slips out on the sidewalk out here, and you don't dust yourself off and walk away anymore. So very litigious society, and social inflation is an outgrowth of that. Cybercrime, near and dear to your heart, isn't it? And we joked a little bit earlier that there's nothing that we can do. They're going to get you. If they're going to get you, they're going to get you. But we can make it harder for them to get us. And I really commend you for having brought a cybersecurity expert, an IT expert on board. We're promoting cyber hygiene training.
Thank you for that compliment.
Absolutely. For your employees' phishing exercises, we send emails out to see if they click on it, clickbait. And if they do click on it, a little buzzer goes off under their chin. No, that doesn't happen.
No, I have a hammer that comes out.
Is that the hammer comes out? Don't open that, and you'd be amazed at how often, not here, that it happens. We're also doing system vulnerability testing. We're pinging your system to see if there's ways for people from the outside to get in. We put out model policies and procedures. I know Dave said he's working very closely with you to implement those to make it harder for the bad actors to get into your system. We've also got great breach recovery services. If you ever do get hacked, we've got a team that can come in and work with you to hopefully get you back online. Hopefully you've got those backups that aren't connected to your system, and we can tell those hackers to go to heck, right? So
15 days worth.
there you go.
Off-site.
And that's the key right there. I mean, right off the bat, you can just thumb your nose at them and say, hey, we're shutting everything down, we're starting fresh, and we've got all our data backed up. So, again, these are really important things. And then, you know, I mentioned on page 17, I mentioned to Rich Deeney before the meeting started, employment practices liability, something we never even talked about when we started the JIF. And I remember in the early 90s, Rich was over in Ocean City, and he started talking to me about these lawsuits that were starting to pop up, not necessarily here in South Jersey, but you know, racial discrimination, sexual harassment. He said, you know, how come the JIF isn't addressing these things? And I think that's a testament to the fact that we listen to our members. And as a result of that discussion, the ball got rolling, and we started to provide not only the coverage for employment practices liability, but also the training, the risk management programs. And that's where, you know, we've just completed training with your managers and supervisors, your police command staff, and we put out a program for your rank and file employees. So we did put out updated policies and procedures. There is a compliance date by this November so that you can make sure that you're in sync with the latest as those issues go. And don't forget, we do have the employment practices liability helpline, so you can pick up the phone, you can talk to an attorney if you've got some issues that you want to talk about related to employment practices. So page 18, coming down the home stretch, what's new? Telemed services. I think that's here to stay. You know, we were forced to do it during the pandemic, but you know, we're recognizing that in certain instances it makes a lot of sense to conduct telemedicine visits. The Mel Safety Institute Live and the Mel Safety Institute Now, new programs that were put out during the pandemic because we realized that we couldn't get out and visit with the employees. So we now have online safety training that's available 24/7. We've also got over 130 safety titles that are available for streaming right into the workplace. What does this mean for Margate? It means that your employees won't have to leave town as often to attend training. So, you know, think about that benefit. And then finally, the Joint Cash Management Investment Program, the JIFs around the state collectively are sitting on about $500 million, believe it or not. Okay, and I'm talking about all the MEL-related JIFs. And we decided that there's got to be a way to put this money to use. So working with the state and working with the governor's office, we created the Joint Cash Management Investment Program to compete for municipal debt. So going out for a bond ordinance, for example, we're going out there and we're throwing out much lower numbers than the traditional market is. It's, you know, what's doing is it's forcing the market to be much more competitive. So that's something that's brand new that's happened this past year. So on page 19, we're here for the long term. You know, we've been around since 1987. I don't plan on going anywhere. I was just telling Rich, I turned 70 in November. My dad worked till he was 88. I mean, I worked full time till I'm 88, but I love what I do. I love what the Joint Insurance Fund has done for local government. I think that we've made a difference. I think we've created a safer work environment for your employees. I think that we created a safer environment for your citizens, you know, through the parks programs and things of that nature. So I hope that you'll consider renewing your membership. We value Margate, and I want to thank Lisa for your service as a fund commissioner, and Dan Adams working as your safety coordinator and your claims coordinator. They're really the people that help make this program work for Margate, and of course, Dave. But thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Are there any questions for Paul or Dave?
No, but one thing,
Yes. There you go. You got my question. Yes.
Rich, you raise your hand?
yeah, first of all, I just want to say thank you to Paul. It's been a pleasure working with you over the past several years. Not sure how many, but several. One thing I want to point out, and I know that Paul only had a certain amount of time allotted to present a lot of information, but he just briefly touched on this one new legislation regarding the pension and workers' comp, which, you know, I just want to expand upon it a little. It's really important with these workers' comp claims where now we could potentially be on the hook, you know, for a much longer period when individuals who had a claim who are retiring with a disability retirement. So it's more important now than ever to try to, you know, get a hold and manage our workers' comp claims as best we can to reduce that potential liability.
And you are on the right track. I have to tell you that. I think with Dan, with the safety committee, you know, with your RMC, I think Dave Miller I think you folks have really started to bring a lot of that under control. You're using return to work programs, you're using your, you're getting your claims reported on time, which is so very important. Keep that up.
Rich?
I too want to thank you, Paul, but I also want to say to you that, and to the commissioners who know, that on our next meeting agenda, 4 o'clock, we're going to have a number, like 12 or 13 more policies to be revised. We are well on our way of meeting the November deadline. We have done tens of them so far, and it's a chance to say how important those policies are to helping us defend against some of the litigation that we have. And obviously, we have to train and adhere to the policies, but we have to get them in place first. So while there's many of them that keep coming before the governing body, it's
Yeah.
extremely important.
Thank you.
And lastly, I just wanted to say that through our staff here, Lisa has recommended, and with concurrence from Dan, that we do re-up, and should be a resolution on the agenda on July 1st.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. You saved me from asking that question. Chief?
Yeah, I just want to echo the same thing that Lisa and Rich were saying. It's a pleasure to work with you, Paul. Anytime I've ever called, you're always right there to answer a question. And your staff and the staff of the safety, your loss control representatives and that are out there have been great working with us. And with a lot of the different things that have happened of recent times, we've really adapted and changed some of our training curriculum. And I want to thank Rob Garish for helping us and guiding us in that right direction. And it's only gotten better. And you'll see when you review the amount of videos and the training that we're going to do for 2021, it's probably going to far exceed any other year that we've had in the past. So, but thank you so much for all your cooperation and your help. And, both Pauls, I can't say enough that anytime I call, you guys are always there and available and to answer the questions that we have. Thank you.
It's a service business. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. Have a good afternoon.
You
All
too.
right. Take care.
Pleasure. Mr. Dennis, are you prepared for the engineer's report?
I am prepared. Okay,
Please continue.
I will. Item number A is our dredging project. We are in the process of preparing the dredge permit application documents, as well as the shelter island tidelands documents, while Stockton is performing their testing and studies. I talked to Roger earlier this week. We're going to schedule a dredge committee meeting at some point after the 4th of July holiday, just to touch base with all the parties to make sure we're all still in lockstep according to the plan that we laid out earlier this year. On the hazard mitigation project for this building, this may sound familiar. We haven't heard any updates from OEM or from FEMA, other than they are sorry that it's taking so long, and we have sent a request to the low bidder requesting them to hold their bid price for an additional 30 days. They have thus far since September been extending their price on 30-day increments, so hopefully we get another extension from the contractor. I don't think I saw a response yet. And ultimately it comes down to the supplier of some of the materials on this project that they're going to hold their price. Item C is our EPA Water Utility Risk and Resilience Assessment Compliance item. This is on track to be finalized by the end of the month, which is the due date. Item D, there's no update. This is the Adams Avenue Stormwater Pump Station. We have a grant application into FEMA, and the expectation is that we will hear something at some point in the fall. Item E is the Minnie Creek drainage analysis. This report is complete, will be issued next week. And this could potentially, I think I mentioned this at the last meeting, could potentially be a grant, a possible grant application for some of the funding that is coming down the pike with some of the infrastructure funding. So we will issue that report, and then at the next commission meeting I'll go over it what the outcome of our analysis was. Item F is our next round of curb and gutter. We do have the field survey scheduled to be completed by the end of the month, and then we would proceed with the plan preparation to bid that project for fall construction. Item G is well 5, which I believe is on the agenda today for an award to Unitech Drilling in the amount of $128,850. So we will get that contract awarded and get the pre-construction meeting scheduled so we can move forward with that project. Item H is the Ventnor Avenue Bridle Path design, which has completed the survey phase. We are preparing the base plans, and then that project will move into the design phase. That is a 2022 construction project. We're just working on the design phase this year. Item I is Amherst Avenue Phase 2, also in the design phase. We have completed our field survey, base plans are complete, design is in progress, so that design will carry on through the summer, and that would be a fall construction project, so we would bid that in time for fall construction. Item J is Edgemar Circle Utility Extension. We sent the plans over, and I think, Roger, you had sent back some comments to JJ, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So that should be wrapping up. Item K is the municipal building interior renovation. So we do have some schematic drawings from the project architect that I reviewed with him last week. I did forward that information to Fred and Rich, and we will be reaching out to some folks at City Hall to get some input on this project. And I have a note on here, we do have our schedule from, that I reviewed with the architect, and what we're looking at is a September construction start, and then hopefully completion by the end of the year. Some of that will be contingent on materials and lead times, but there's really nothing in this project that should be exceptionally long lead time. So we're looking at a fall start and hopefully a completion by the end of the year for this project. Item L is just a couple miscellaneous items. We do have the adoption of the updated stormwater control ordinance on the agenda today. I did go over that at the last commissioners meeting on what that entails and what the real world practical impact is on us here in Margate, which is essentially that these regulations really wouldn't kick in on any project because of the triggers that involve larger development that we really don't have the land, the open space for here. For these regulation changes to really have any real world impact. However, they are required by the state. So they are on the agenda today for adoption. And also under miscellaneous, we have, I believe it's already been submitted, our 2022 state aid application to the NJDOT, which is for Winchester Avenue from Exeter Avenue to Douglas Avenue. And there is a resolution on the agenda today to authorize that application. So those are due July 1st. I do think that Joe already submitted, if I saw the confirmation correctly. So that has been submitted. Okay, moving on to construction projects. We're all caught up on our maintenance bond inspections. The next one's not due until November. Item N, Phase 1 of Atlantic Avenue, the punch list work is complete, finally. That included the repaving of some of those areas that had settled on the first phase of Atlantic Avenue. And as I outlined at the last meeting, we did do everything we could to try to coordinate to have those repairs done before the road diet. Didn't happen, so now they had to go out there and make these patches after the road diet striping went in. So two things. First thing is we did require them to do an infrared repair on those patches so we would get a nicer end result. And the second thing is they'll be responsible for restriping it with the road diet striping.
That was my question, so that's.
You
Yep.
don't have a question.
You can lead a horse to water, right?
Yeah,
right.
look, it's written here, repairs to gore striping and sharrows.
Yep. So, so that will be done. But the good news is we did get that punch list is complete. There were a couple items that were hanging there, and we have addressed them. Item O is the next phase of Atlantic Avenue, which now, while they're out here, we will have them complete that punch list in a timely fashion so we can get both of these projects closed out. They are both NJDOT state aid projects. It's important that we close those out as quickly as possible because with our next grant application going in, it does work against you if you have a lot of open contracts on the books. So we've emphasized that we need to get these closed out quickly so that isn't held against us in the grant review process. Item P is Bay Shore Drive West, which is just in closeout. You're going to see a lot of projects on this list, given the time of year, that are in the closeout phase. Amherst Avenue bulkhead is kind of in a limbo state. There's a little bit of electrical work that is left to be done, which is kind of dependent on the completion of the promenade. So once everything gets moving on the promenade again, we can wrap up the electrical work that is still under the bulkhead contract, and then we can close out the bulkhead contract.
Excuse me, Ed, is there an update on the delivery of the wood for the promenade?
Yes, half of it has arrived in the United States, which is a step in the right direction. The other half of it is scheduled to arrive in the United States next week. The first load is supposed to arrive in Margate the week of the 21st, which would be Monday, right? So it's supposed to arrive next week.
All right.
It's
Thank
palletized
you.
already?
Yep.
So it's out of the Dravo box? That's
Yes.
awesome.
Yep.
That's ahead of
So-
schedule, right?
It's right around where we thought it would be. We thought mid-June, so we're right around there. It's it's one of those situations where we'll believe it when it shows up on site. But the good news is, in all seriousness, that the big X factor has been to get it stateside. And now that it's here, we have more control over where it's at, the logistics of where it is, and when it will arrive here. So. Again, Chavone Construction has indicated that as soon as that material arrives, he's going to staff the project up, and it is about a 30-day timeframe to complete the work. And we would just need that second batch of material to follow quickly so they don't get held up, so they can keep moving. So that's good news. So that is where we are with that, and that was the latest update as of this morning. Okay, item R is just the Argyle Avenue bulkhead cut through. Lisa, have we gotten the reimbursement from the ACIA yet? All right, I'll follow up with them, and I'm just going to leave that on here until we get it. Item S is Phase 1 of Amherst Avenue. So from a construction standpoint, a road construction standpoint, everything is complete except for final paving. I reached out to the contractor to try to get an update on where we were with the homeowners and their insurance claims. The contractor did not have an update, which I hope would mean that process, I haven't heard from any of the homeowners in the past couple weeks. And so hopefully what that means is that they are being taken care of by the insurance company, and that process is moving forward. I would suggest maybe, Scott, if you want to reach out to their attorney or attorneys, just to make sure that they're being attended to, because the contractor, remember, at this point, it's between the insurance company and the homeowners. So the contractor didn't have an update, I don't have an update, so I just want to make sure that the homeowners are working with the insurance companies.
Does look like they're doing work.
Okay, good. Well, then that's good news. And again, that job will be finished in the fall with the final paving. The item T is the last round of curb and gutter, which is just being closed out. I think I saw some paperwork on that, some closeout paperwork, so that's moving ahead. Item U is the promenade. We just touched on that. So the lumber, the first round of lumber is scheduled to arrive here in Margate next week as of this morning. And hopefully that stays on schedule so we can get that project completed. Item V is closeout for the Benson Avenue water tank. Item W is the streetscape work that was done out in front of this building. That work is substantially complete. We do have a little bit of punch list, and we're looking at maybe some other miscellaneous items we may have the contractor take care of while they're in town and under contract. So that job is completed, and with some potentially odd items we may add to the contract for them to complete before they demobilize. Item X is the road diet. So at this point, there is just a little bit of striping left. There's areas where they've just been having a hard time keeping the people from parking before they get there, and they're just trying to get those areas done. For all intents and purposes, it's complete with just a couple random areas that need to be striped. On the traffic signal timing, so I don't have a date certain yet from the contractor. We have been asking for that for weeks. From what I'm told, this contractor, we're in their queue. They have a backlog of work. They owe us a schedule. This is the same contractor who's done work, traffic signal work for the city in the past. We did solicit 3 quotes. 2 people responded, and out of the 2 that responded, one said they don't do work in New Jersey, and the one that gave us a price was this contractor. And we're kind of at their mercy at this point. I badger them every day for an update, and I wanted to show up here today with a date on when they would be here, and I just don't have it. Been asking them for a date on it. So as soon as I have that, I will share that with everyone. But we have been trying to get them here as soon as possible. And then just to remind everyone,
Subcontractor to this, to Delta? Is that-
no, that is someone we contracted with directly. Yes.
There's our recourse if nothing happens.
Well, again, they've done work for the city in the past. We've issued them a PO, and we're in their queue. So, and we attempted to get quotes from 3 contractors, and this was the only one that responded. So we could revisit that and try to find someone else to see if we can get someone in here sooner. Especially if they can't even give us a date when they're gonna be here. But this is traffic signal products. I believe they've done work here in the past. So we can reach out to the other 2 if we want to revisit it and potentially see if there's someone else that could get here, in a more timely fashion. But at a minimum, I can let them know that that's what we're considering, that we're considering rescinding their PO and getting someone else in here if they can't give us a date to complete the work.
I believe our goal was always to have it operational sometime around this, prior to our summer season,
Yep.
which right now we're lucky because we don't have the population that we're going to have after June 20th. So I know the chief's concerned about that. We talked about it this morning. So I think we almost have to push forward, either demand a date or go look for somebody else to do it.
I totally agree. I wouldn't say to them,
No.
we're gonna go get another, because we don't have.
We don't have any.
Right, we don't want to bluff,
I
right,
think you should do both, but
right, all right. Agreed. Okay, but again, we'll continue to push them for,
is there anybody that the chief could contact? If he felt like it?
If it's a contractor we've used, like I said, with the contractor
I'll
we're
get,
using,
yeah, I'll
it's the
get,
one we've
yep,
used in the
I'll get you,
past.
I'll get you their contact info. Yeah. I'll get you their info. And then the last item on the list here is, no, it's not the last item on the list. Item Y is Fire Station 2, and we have a tentative schedule from the contractor to begin demolition work the week of June 28th. So that project will get started. And then the last item on the list is the 600 block of Claremont, which is the emergency water main replacement that we discussed at the last meeting. That contract was awarded to Perna Finnegan 2 weeks ago, and they anticipate beginning work on Monday.
Ed, quick question, Station 2. When I last spoke to Mr. Aliano last week, he was gonna give me a 2-week heads up, and now you're telling me demolition's starting on the 28th and it's the 17th, and I have not gotten a 2-week heads up yet. So is that firm? Because then I need to start moving as of Monday on Station 2 and making things happen.
It was tentative, so I will
If you
reach
could
out to
find
make sure.
'cause
Yep.
He was supposed to give me a confirmation, either verbal or an email, telling me a start date for demo, so I could have 2-week window to clear everything out and get everything changed, because Fred's gonna need time as well with some of the IT components that are in there, just to make sure we get them
We still need the plan.
at least secured. I got it, I'll send that to you now.
Anything else, Dan?
Okay.
That's it.
That's it, thank you, Mayor.
Ed, do you have anything else?
I do not. I went A through Z.
Ed, thank you for the report. I think, Rich, you have a question?
questions on the report. I was just waiting, I was plowing through it so fast, which is good. Atlantic Avenue, you and I spoke about one of the situations from the first
Phase.
location.
Yep.
On the corner there. I talked to Bob Smith this week, so I assume he got back to you,
Yes.
that it's my understanding that the contractor was gonna go in there and repair that curb, although he didn't claim all of it was his responsibility, but I said to Bob, you should do a decent length that made sense, even if we couldn't come to terms with him, which is what my understanding was gonna happen.
That is what's going to happen.
It still is gonna happen.
Yep, I just said the punch list work was done, meaning that everything was on the punch list is done.
Okay.
This is an extra item that they're going to do. Correct.
And
Per our request.
It'll come out in,
Yes.
okay, in the wash.
Yep.
Okay, good. There was a second item on there that
With the grass.
Bob said really is not the responsibility, which I said to you, you know, whatever it is or it isn't. But I will speak to Frank about a little bit of landscaping there. That it's between the curb and the sidewalk, Frank. It's not that big a deal. We can take care of it.
Anything else?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Dennis? Thank you, Ed. I believe the next item on the agenda is a discussion of front yard fencing.
Fences. Let's give
Roger?
that to Mr. McLaren.
Roger?
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here to let fences in front yards. They're right now, they're currently not permitted in the city of Margate. Never have been, probably until zoning wasn't available or written. We're finding fences popping up in front yards throughout the city, typically over a weekend. Enforcement hasn't been really needed or hasn't been performed like we need it to be performed. So the discussion is to whether to allow them to be permitted or not. Going forward, I have no issue enforcing the ordinance as written today. I think my personal opinion is we should consider that more than just permitting fences in front yards for the following reasons. One is, in Margate, we have a front yard landscape ordinance that requires, you know, landscaping and shrubs and trees and grass to be located in the front yard. If you start putting fences in the front yard of various types, of course, we can regulate the size and type of fence in the front yard. Whether or not people abide by that will be a different story. But you'll be hiding some of the pleasures of Margate that are unique to any other town at the shore, in my opinion. You drive through Margate, you know you're driving through Margate. You drive through Sea Isle City, you think you're driving through a parking lot from North Jersey somewhere. Don't tell Lenny that, but
He's gonna hear it when I
He-
put this
he-
one
he's-
on.
he's-
Shots fired.
hey, no, hey.
They have many other wonderful attributes.
Yeah, yes, they do. Yes. Their sand is nice and gentle down there too.
They have nicks
See-
too.
Fences have become an issue in every property. You know, it used to be just a rear yard would be fenced in, that'd be people's personal space. Now they're encroaching down the sidelines. In Margate, before I got here, they pretty much permitted driveways on the side of a property with a 0-foot setback. And there's a lot of older properties that had that situation where you have a driveway next to a driveway that may be 9 feet wide. People are coming in, they're putting fences down the middle of the driveway, and it's really causing some chaos because people can't open the car doors, or before they used to step on other people's properties to get in and out of the car. But it's becoming a problem, and now they're just, if we allow fences in the front yards, that's just gonna creep all the way out to the sidewalk. And say we allow 3 or 4 foot high fences in the front yard, you're gonna have somebody put a 5-foot fence in there, and then you're gonna be chasing them. And my feeling is that once we open that door to permit fences in front yards, you'll never be able to close that door. It'll.
Through the chair, I have a question. May I?
Please.
So here's the dilemma we're faced with, the way I look at it. And I don't support front yard fences because I think it takes away, like you mentioned, from the beauty of the landscaping, which is aesthetically pleasing. I think with the increase in the population and dogs, people are looking to put a fence, even if it's 3 foot, 2 foot, whatever it is, to keep animals off their private property. But with that said, through the years, I'm sure there were variances granted for front yard fences. How would we deal with that? They would be grandfathered in. So now we have, I believe, when Steve Schwartz, our zoning official, gave us the list, there's 65 or 70 homes that have currently in the city of Margate front yard fences.
Correct.
Probably 2/3 of them are illegal, meaning they didn't have a building permit and they didn't have zoning approval. How do we handle that?
We give them the option of seeking a variance or to remove it and comply. It's going to tie up the court, it's going to tie up staff for a little while. But I know, since I've been here, people have been replacing, I allow them to replace an existing fence that they can prove to me with an old photograph that it existed before, say, 1980. Most of those people have done that. There's a chain link fence on Thurlow Avenue that's obviously been there for 50 years. I allowed that to be replaced. You can maintain something that's non-conforming, in my opinion, and I think the state law supports that. Most of the homes that have illegal fences or non-conforming fences in their front yard are probably going to be torn down and replaced within 10 years. At that point in time, they will not be allowed to replace those fences in the front yards. But going back to the original question about how to enforce the existing non-conforming fences without permits, we have to notify them all. I think once you do that and you set the example, I think people around town will get the idea that we're not going to tolerate
It will
those
create,
fences.
it will create havoc.
Oh, yes.
You think?
Well, that's why we're here. And that's why there's an extended process here as we go through this that I outlined in a memo to you 3 weeks ago. Because the planning board, in my opinion, can say whatever they want to say. And I know there's people on the planning board that kind of agree with where Roger is at this point. I believe he's reflecting the majority view. But the fact is, it's the commissioners that are elected. And the commissioners are going to get, if we start going out issuing 60 or 70 summonses, even after we give plenty of warning, 2 or 3 months or 4 months, and have them seek a variance or do whatever, it's still going to come back to the commissioner. So this ultimately is the commissioner's decision, not a staff position, and it's not the planning board's decision. It had to be an ordinance change. Planning board has to weigh in on it, but you're going to have to vote, which is what I outlined in the memo. I'm not taking a position here. I'm just saying it falls on your shoulders, and so you got to weigh all of the things in terms of whether if you regulate them, how you regulate them, or if you just keep it the way it is. But it's not acceptable now because it's causing neighbor against neighbor. It's causing people to be rude to our staff because we tell them they can't have a fence, and then they say, well, somebody else had a fence, and then they go put it up anyhow. So we either have to enforce or not enforce, but within the next 3 or 4 months, we're finished. It's going to be do what you want otherwise.
Well, we just had a new fence show up overnight at Winchester and Harding Avenue in the front yard. It's a 5-foot fence.
A 5-foot fence?
Yes.
Where was that address?
The Winchester, 9104 Winchester Avenue. And the guy says he has a 200-pound dog.
He has what?
A 200-pound dog. So I'm supposed to, okay.
Okay.
Well, in the legislature right now, there is a bill pending in the state legislature that anybody that has a dog over a certain size must enclose their whole yard. So if it comes down from the state, then our hands are tied. But then again, I know you had the discussion with the planning board, and the planning boards give the respect to the planning board. Their opinion is we should enforce no front yard fences. Am I correct?
Correct. We took a straw poll and it was 5 or 6 to 1 to enforce what we have today and not permit fences in the front yards.
It would seem to me, and I mean, I'm sort of sitting on the fence with the issue is we're opening Pandora's box here. I don't believe in passing ordinances that we can't enforce. Everybody knows that, and you know we still have some. So, are you saying the planning board's position is no fences?
No fences
Okay.
In the front yard.
in the front yard.
I wonder why Mr. Patterson was here. He's
It almost looked like Pat was here.
Why do you say that, John?
Because you look just like him. Take the glasses off.
you
And
can't-
I have it on my phone. I got to show you before you leave.
And if the commissioners do so choose to opt to allow to have front yard fences, we would need design standards and criteria how we're going to allow those. So we would have to change the ordinance to do that also.
Okay.
My fear is you're gonna have, my concern, not the fear, is you're gonna have 2-foot-high fences, 3-foot-high fences, picket fences, split rail fences, in and out, wood, vinyl. I think we have more vinyl in this town now than Sam Goody had in all of his record stores in 1975.
Roger,
Fair today.
would I be correct in assuming that you're not in favor of fences?
What made you think that? I'm
It's a yes or no question.
on a fence.
Are there
My
any-
personal opinion is no. We have enough fences in the town
Thank
to,
you. Are there any questions from anybody? Mari, I know you're here, or there, but are you with us?
Yep,
Do you have any questions for Roger?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you.
This is the beginning of the process, Mayor. Nobody's asking, you can, but there's nobody asking, and we're not recommending that you do anything but throw this out for further discussion, so.
It is so noted. All right, why don't we have a few minutes left, why don't we do a couple department head reports? Frank, do you have anything?
We finally finished off the shack at Thurlow Avenue.
I see.
It is not green, because green siding is 18 weeks out. So we put a gray siding on to try to match the house up. We just have to put the railing up. We also went up and down the beach and put street signs on all the igloo trash cans, so people that walking down the beach can identify the street that they're standing on. Next weekend is beach stock. We assist them in a lot of ways, different ways, and we will be there all weekend to help them, the Margate Business Association. And the porta potties will arrive on the beach Monday. That's all I have.
Thank you. Fred?
The only thing I have is I gave you a piece of paper that shows you the roof at 9001. The project's completed. It got inspected last week. We're just waiting for all the closeout documents. I think it was a great project.
Very smooth project.
Very smooth.
Thank you for your efforts. Roger, anything besides fences?
pretty good right now, thanks.
Rich, do you have anything? Chief?
Just quickly, you can see some of our projects to calm traffic, especially the Atlantic Avenue Road diet. It's getting towards the end. As Ed stated, there's the new traffic display signs, speed limit signs on Atlantic Avenue in the Jerome Avenue area. They're working well. There was another one installed on Thurlow and Amherst Avenue. A lot of the feedback we've gotten so far in regards to making Amherst Avenue one-way from Washington to Coolidge has been positive. We've kind of been working out some of the learning curve, and I think as we move forward, both those streets will continue to be successful.
Good job.
Thank you. Lisa?
Thank you, I have nothing to report.
Johanna?
Everything's good in the clerk's office.
Andrew?
Yeah, tennis and pickleball courts open full-time tomorrow, meaning reservations will be required. Beach taggers will begin on Saturday. We got some good news that our gaming area of our new playground should be completed within the next 2 weeks. The Lucy Playground, we're still looking at mid-July, hopefully, for equipment delivery and then construction thereafter. And on the agenda tonight is a resolution for a new playground for Union Avenue. Dan Adams and I met with JIF representative, who unfortunately, due to some vandalism and some rust damage, we had to close that playground down. So we're trying to get a new one ordered and put in, and they tell us it can be within 5 to 7 weeks. We can have a new one installed, so we're hoping to get that done so that that can be done by the end of July, early August. That's all I have.
Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, we're coming into our big barbecue season for all of our residents and our seasonal residents that come and visit. Just please make sure you clean out your barbecue grill, especially from last season. Most of the time, the grill fires that we get are attributed to leftover materials that are on the bottom of the grill. They're really not malfunctions of the grill or propane type incidents. Most of them are related to the cooking materials and not upkeeping and maintaining your grill. So if you have any questions, feel free to call the fire department. We'd be happy to assist you or at least give you guidance in what to do. Other than that, we're preparing for beach stock and for the busy summer season. The beach patrol commissioner, I could be correct, but I think we have one more week and we'll be full swing with all beaches open and operating. And fireworks are all scheduled, everything's done. I think it's on the bill list for today, Lisa, the final payment.
Yes, it is.
So we should be good to go and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Abbott?
Just a couple things real quick. First off, on the GIF presentation, I'd like to say that this reflects very, very well upon our staff. Between Lisa and Dan and Rich, we've got great numbers here, and it just shows you how important it is to be a member of GIF, especially now with all the additional litigation factors and additional claims that our state government seems to just constantly expand and help out trial attorneys to the best of their ability. So, congratulations on all the hard work that I know that you guys do. With regard to the fence, I think there could be, perhaps, I'm going to throw my 2 cents worth in. As you know, I'm a history nut, and the absence of fences in Margate go back to Margate Park when they established the development between roughly Kenyon and Union Avenues, and they prohibited front yard fences. And you can see on our parkway. But there are other towns that are beautiful, like Stone Harbor, Avalon, Ocean City, Ventnor, Longport, yes, even Seattle. Then maybe we ought to take another look. Maybe our planning board could come up with, maybe have fences with landscaping in front of the fencing. Maybe there could be some kind of a compromise. I do not relish the idea of going after 70 to 100 homeowners who have fences in their yards. And many of them, I guess, have dogs. And that's where I know dogs seem to be very popular in recent years. We see a lot of them. And I know that's why along Amherst Avenue you've seen them crop up, because people's dogs go and destroy their landscaping. So there might be room here for a happy medium. I know I see Mr. Patterson there, and I'd be glad to help out. I have the zoning ordinances for all the, actually they're on the internet now, or we can see what the other towns have. But
We opened that discussion today,
Yeah.
but it's still open for discussion.
All right. And then finally, I just want to let you know, pursuant to Administrator Deeney's direction, I reached out to Ventnor's administrator and their in-house engineer and talked to them about a joint meeting. We do need to move forward with a license application with the Bureau of Tidelands to use Shelter Island. To that end, I made a little synopsis or group of some of our memos, maps, title work on Shelter Island. And I sent it to most of you. I hope you got it. And if you didn't get it, or if I left your name out for whatever reason, I'll be happy to share it with you. It's interesting reading. You'll see the old maps, the title work to Shelter Island, which Margate owns half of. And you'll see a lot of the aerial photography. I gave you one really good picture where they used Shelter Island to fill in the north end of Margate, which was much of it was meadows, as well as the south end of Ventnor. So you'll see where we're going with that. And again, we need to get an application to the Bureau of Tidelands, which is in addition to our dredging application. That's it. That's what I have.
Thank you, Mr. Abbott. Anybody else?
Yep.
Okay, we will,
Scholarship recipients.
that's the next one. Okay. We will open for public comment for items that have been discussed at this meeting only. Anybody who would want to talk about anything other than that will be at the beginning of the next meeting, which will start within a couple minutes of this one. Is there any public comment? It's a motion to close public comment.
Mr. Patterson.
Ah, damn. I wish I had a
Close public
quicker.
comment.
Do I need to be sworn in?
No.
No.
Name and address.
Your name and address, please.
8 Bay Shore Court.
You have 3 minutes. Your 3 minutes are up. Thank you very much for speaking.
They got a call.
I know there will be some havoc, those 60 fences that are up, some of them are legal. It's been brazen with some of them, you can't put a fence up and they just do it anyway. It's been caused by the lack of enforcement, that you have a city employee that didn't enforce it, it caused this problem. And to avoid this problem and let everybody have fences in the front yard, I think is a terrible trade-off. To have some problems for a little while. I'm not minimizing what the problems might be, but they're blatantly, when I brought to Roger's attention, that Harding Avenue in Winchester, I mean, it pops up, it's, what's this, a 5-foot fence right on the thing? Amherst Avenue, where the fences are popping up. And they're popping up more now because people are seeing more and more fences and they're just doing it. And it is, I mean, I've got a guy that calls me every week riding around looking. It's Saturdays and Sundays these fences are being put up. So it's not like the people think they're allowed to do it. These fences are being snuck in. So I just...
Question?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Your position, is that your position or the position of the planning board?
The board had one member that didn't like dogs peeing on his lawn. That was the only no vote. Other than that, it was 6-1 or 7. I don't know how, did we let everybody vote? 6-1. Yeah. That we have a unique city here. I don't think you say Ocean City has nice fences and it's nice. Ocean City's a wasteland. There's a concrete jungle and you know, Margate's different.
You're being recorded.
I'm sorry. Who's the guy from Sea Isle I need to apologize to?
Thank you, Rich. Your 3 minutes are up.
No, it says I still have 3 minutes.
That's right, time stood still.
Yeah. Anyway, but no, I am speaking for the board. It's not my
Okay.
position. It is my position, but the board wholeheartedly agreed that Margate was unique, and it's a terrible trade-off because you
We
guys
all agree
wanna take the
Margate
heat.
is unique in a positive way. Any other public comment? Is there a motion to close public?
I'll move to close public comment.
I second that motion.
I'll second that.
Too late.
Mayor Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg?
He fell asleep.
I'll
Say
move-
yes now, Mo.
Well, yes.
There you go.
I'll move to close the meeting.
I'll second that motion.
Mayor Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg?
Yes.
All right, meeting is adjourned. We're going to take a short break and we'll begin the next meeting.